What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview where we interview top entrepreneurs, top health and fitness professionals, and just straight up badasses that are dominating their space. So today I'm really stoked and honored, you guys, to have on the show. This is one of my great friends. I've known this cat for a long time. He is a guy that got into the real estate business, grew this mega real estate team, had huge success in the real estate business, and decided to take another path. You know, he had taken his skills that he learned there, his team building skills, his marketing skills. Then he went out there and developed a internet marketing company where today he operates and owns Leads to Profitability, where he goes out there, coaches entrepreneurs, coaches coaches, helps coaches generate leads, run their businesses. So this guy's got his hands in a lot of different things. Uber successful cat. So really stoked and honored to have my boy on the show, Shawn Lynam, man. Honored to have you here, dude.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So, I'm really stoked for this, man. We've been kind of talking back and forth about 2-3 weeks to get you on here. I know you're busy as shit, so I appreciate you making the time to be here. Been really excited about this, man, because I know you got so many different things going on, and you've been able to create, you know, just this really epic business or businesses, epic lifestyle for your family. But before we kind of dig in and talk about what you're doing today, let's kind of talk about how it all freaking started. Like, let's rewind it back. Like, how did you become an entrepreneur? I don't even know if real estate was your first entrepreneur venture, but how did you transition into that or decide to become an entrepreneur? What was that journey like?
Well, growing up, it was my brother and sister. We had the best parents in the world. But my dad, he worked it's not a but, my dad worked at the post office. He always preached, security. And then my mom, she ran her own business. She cleaned houses. So growing up, it was like I was kind of motivated by the fact that, one, I didn't want to clean houses, and two, I couldn't work at the post office, because it's like a 50-year job. And it was like, so anyway, I go to college, I get an engineering degree, computer science engineering, because my whole thing was if I am going to get a job, I might as well get like the highest paying job out there. So I did my research. It was computer science engineering. I was like, well, that's what I'm going to go into. I get out of college and I get a consulting job down in Philadelphia. And no kidding, my sister, she had just dropped out of college. She's in real estate. My brother's in real estate. I'm in real estate, many different ways, as you're about to find out. But anyway, my sister calls me up, and this is, 15 years ago. And she says, oh, you got to read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I get my hands on the book. I read the book, and I kid you not, the next day I'm walking up the stairs at my consulting job, and I'd only been on the job 2 weeks. And I thought to myself, what would I do to create income if I were to lose my job? And I didn't have an answer. And I kid you not, at lunchtime that day, I got laid off. And it was like an enormous sign from the universe that I need to answer that question, right? Like, how do I create income without a job? So I was unemployed, and next thing you know, Lockheed Martin called me up. They said, hey, you turned us down. Are you still, do you have a job? You looking for a job? So I said, yeah, I'm living in the apartment here. I don't have a job. So anyway, and I wasn't able to figure the answer out how to make money without a job. So go to work with Lockheed. Now they make you sit in a room for 6 months to wait till you get your security clearances. So I spent those 6 months studying my butt off, everything about finances, trading stocks, real estate. I just put my head down and studied 10 times harder than I studied in college. Moved into a role and worked my way up pretty fast. And I realized I didn't learn anything about business. Right, I got an engineering degree. And I'm looking at this job like, holy crap, I have the next 40 years in a cubicle. And I just looked at that cubicle as a prison sentence. And I just had to get out of there. And I just didn't know how yet, but I was darn going to figure it out, right? So I busted my butt at work to generate some income, saved all the money that I possibly could. And then at 23, I had like 39 grand in the bank. And I emptied the bank account and bought a laundromat. So my first investment was a bank clearing laundromat at 23 years old. Didn't know nothing about business. Didn't know nothing about being an investor. And at the same time, I'd gone back to get my MBA in finance. But as your listeners know, like, you can't learn to swim from a book, right? You know, like, entrepreneurship's like street fights. You can't watch MMA videos on YouTube and read about it and go to the gym and work out and you're an MMA fighter. Like, that's not how business works, right? So it's like getting in those street fights. So my first street fight was a laundromat. And, you know, I was kind of hooked from there as a cash business. Every week when I went in, you know, there's money that I got to deposit in the bank, so on and so forth. So after the laundromat, I busted my butt, saved up money, cleared the bank account again. I think it was around like another $30,000, and I bought a 6-unit rental property. So next thing you know, it's like, all right, I'm the next Donald Trump. That dude better watch out, right? So, and built the money back up. Third investment was a foreclosure that I bought, fixed up with my brother and my mom, and I sold it for a profit of like $7,000 or $18,000. So anyway, so I was hooked. So I was getting my MBA. I was working 40 hours a week. I had 40 people under me at Lockheed. I was investing. Like, I was just working like crazy and just didn't even care. So 5 years at Lockheed rolls around. I'm like 26, and then I say, you know, they basically told me that I couldn't move up or make any more money for a couple years. And I was like, all right, well, you know, I'm out of here. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, you know, if I can't make any more money, then what's the point of even showing up for work every day? You know? And so I immediately went. I put a date on my board of May 12th, and every day people were like, what's that on your board? You know, so every day I walked by May 12th, that's the day I'm getting out of here. And that was in December. So 5 months later, my last day was May 5th. I beat that by a week. And that should tell your listeners something, that one, you got to have it written down and look at it every single day. And two, you got to believe it. So it was like, one, you got to have it written down. Two, you got to look at it every day. Three, you got to believe that, you know, it's going to happen. So every day I go in my cubicle, and it was like, I'm getting out of prison, you know, May 12th. And I got out, you know, May 5th. But, and my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I'm just going to do real estate full time. So she had quit her job. We moved back here to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That was 2005. So it's been 10 years, you know, since I've had a job. And I just, man, you know, when I got back, I, you know, had a title company. I was started wholesaling properties, and then I had a commercial and hard money loan company. And this was like at the first time that I realized that I wanted to increase my income per sale or number of transactions, you know, per person. So, you know, we'd wholesale the property and lend on it and get title. So I was being able to make money 3 different ways, you know, on one deal, right? So things were rocking and rolling, and then, as we all know, in 2008, the market shifted. All the hard money went away. All the commercial money went away. The only money left was residential, right? So basically, you have to follow the paper, and we followed the money. We got into residential real estate. My brother and I sat down at Keller Williams. They slid the red book over to us, and it was like a breath of fresh air, because it was like, here's some models to follow so we don't have to make everything up, figure everything out ourselves.
All right, dude, so I got to interrupt you real quick, though, because I got this question. I don't want to forget to ask it. Like, I get the real estate stuff. Why the laundromat?
Well, when you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right, it's all about, so 2 reasons. One, it's all about, you know, buying an asset and then that asset working for you every day. Like, I looked at those dryers and vending machines and washers as like 24-hour-a-day employees that were working when I wasn't.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So
that's the way I looked at it. Now, anybody ever looking to buy a laundromat, your machines are your employees, and the newer the better. The deferred maintenance will like drive you crazy. So anyway, so that's a tip if anybody wants to buy a laundromat. Make sure your machines are like as new as possible, because they are working for you every day. Older the machines, the more maintenance. So anyway,
now do you still own it, or did you buy more? I mean, are you still in that business?
No. So when the shift happened, yeah. So I sold the laundromat after a couple years. One, because of the time, like it was in a city next to mine. And another thing about laundromat, like it's open and those machines are working for you, but it requires a daily cleaning, a daily visit, and I was doing that, and it was taking too much time in travel versus higher and best use of time, right? It was no longer the highest and best use of my time, just in the travel, alone. So I had sold that, and then I don't know what year it was, but I actually got bought out of my rental portfolio. So because, again, the time. It's like you start, and that's another thing I tell people. It's like, what's your time worth? And anything that falls below that, you got to let go or outsource or get rid of or automate or delegate or do whatever you got to do to get rid of it. And, the highest use of your time, that's what you got to focus on. So, I'm one of those guys who always has a couple things going on, and just, some things are going to work, some aren't. And those that aren't, or take out, the time. And I run run decisions through time and money, not just money.
Right. Yep. Love it, man. Love it, dude. So, all right, man. So now you get in the residential real estate. You had Keller Williams. They give you the book for these models. How'd that go, dude? I mean, a lot of our listener base, about half our listener base are realtors, right? So, because you built up a damn large, very successful team.
Yeah, that's what we wanted the whole time. So coming from the rich dad, poor dad investing mindset, it was, you want to build something and either sell it or have somebody else run it, and that's what I liked about the 7 levels. It was like, build up a team, hire a CEO, and then you're out. Now, obviously, that's way more, that's way harder to accomplish than, again, what you read in a book. Just like investing in Laundromat, it's a way different experience when you're, in there swimming. So anyway, so the first year, my brother and I, we just got to hustling. We did 40 some transactions, over $6 million, about 200 in commissions. Had I known then what I know now, we would have done at least like 250 because we were completely underpaid, didn't get any fees, so on and so forth. So each year just started adding people, adding agents, building up the business, started investing in, different coaches, because I was all about the shortcuts. When we first got into business, we were doing direct response marketing on Craigslist. Nobody was on Craigslist. We're generating like 300 to 400 leads a month. Had to place all to ourselves. And, another thing that I liked at Keller Williams at the time was just the way that people were sharing. So there was this Keller Williams agent in Allentown, which is like an hour away. He was doing the same kind of direct response stuff. I reached out to him. His name's Don Wenner. I think he's like top 20 now. He did 600 some deals last year. But anyway, I just reached out to him. I said, hey, man, we're new to the business. We'd love to take you out to lunch and pick your brain because you're selling a home today and you're like 25 years old. Love to know how you do it. So we took him out, and we used, Don was a great resource for us for the, 4 to 5 years that we were, building up the team. And then in 2000 and I was focused. Now, that's another thing. When I was doing the real estate thing, it was all about the team. I had nothing else going on, right? Like nothing. It was all about the team, growing the net income. And in 2012, my wife's 8.5 months pregnant. I go to what Keller Williams has as Recruit Select, which is how to recruit and hire, train, manage, and lead and motivate people, which that's a pretty important skill set, right? So I go in there, and we're going through the exercises, and I realized like I had some right people on the bus, some wrong people, right? And I had some of the right people on the bus in the wrong seats. My wife's 8.5 months pregnant. She was running the team, and I went out at lunchtime, and I called her up, and I said, do you want to stay home with Kayla? And she said, yeah. And I was like, well, we're going to dissolve the team. And she's like, why? I was like, well, with you wanting to stay at home, like you got to shut it down. You got to rebuild it from scratch. It was, we weren't able to fix it from where it was to what it should be. And again, the time factor. Susan wanted to stay at home. She's like, what are we going to do? I said, I have absolutely no idea. Got home, called my brother, called everybody in, just gave the database away, websites. As it says, hey, I took full responsibility. I was like, we're going to dissolve the teams. Who's going to stay home? I don't know what I'm going to do, so on and so forth. And actually tried to go back, a couple times, and my wife kept encouraging me. She's like, oh, you're really smart. You figure something, figure it out. So then that was, was that 2012 or something. So anyway, so I hired this coach, James Spooner, who's still a coach of mine, and he's a Napoleon Hill certified coach, huge Think and Grow Rich fan myself. It's one of like the 5 books that kind of changed my life because it changed my thinking. And he introduced me to the office that I'm sitting in right now, the Joy Daniels Real Estate Group. They were #1 in my market. And James was like, I think they could use their help. And that was the first person that had hired me to help advise on their business. And not only how to grow, units, like that's the hard part, but growing your income per sale, net profits, that type of stuff, making sure that, your marketing's tracked and know you're getting a return on investment. So they had brought me in, and I spent a year and a half, advising. And then I kind of sat down. I was like, oh, what is my strength? And it was online lead gen. I mean, that was what I was really, really good at. That's where I learned direct response. That's where I learned internet marketing. It just happened to be applied to generating real estate leads. So then I spent a year and a half generating real estate leads for some of the top teams across the country. And then I got bored because it was the same thing over and over again. And I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm one of those guys, if I wake up for like 2 weeks and I'm bored or I don't like it, like I'm out. Right? Life's too short.
Yep. You can only enter so many keywords, and you're like, all right, dude, I gotta go build something new.
The same ad copy, it's just like, I'm out. And just let everybody know, it's like, hey, I'm just going to do all this in your account and I'm gone. You know what I mean? So thank God I have a wife that like can handle just coming home one day is like, that source of income, I just shut that down today. I got bored. You know what I mean? So, anyway, and then last year I started doing live events for real estate agents with the Joy Daniels Group and helping them kind of blow the doors off their business. And so currently, we're doing live events every 60 days for real estate agents. I handle all the online sales and marketing for 3 different real estate coaching companies. And I have a little side project with some internet marketing friends, helping small business owners, internet marketers, build out their online, sales funnels to be able to grow their business, online. So, I'd say it's mainly like internet marketing based, but, I'm a small business guy. I look at business as having like 4 legs to the chair, which is systems, marketing, leverage, and economics. And that's how like the way that I filter through opportunities. That's the way I look at people's businesses, and then just try to help people, kind of maximize what they already have or what they're already doing. So that's kind of, I guess, the journey. Yeah. So to speak. I don't, maybe I left some out. I don't know, but it's all been kind of, centered around in and around real estate. Like I've made money so many different ways throughout the years, but it all started with reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and getting laid off that day. I asked myself how I generate income without a job.
Yeah, it's funny in life, dude, how like all this shit that happens, like it just kind of happened on accident. Like I don't want to say we stumble into things, but it wasn't like necessarily in the plans that we had originally planned, right? You rewind the clock 15 years and tell your 15-year-old self 15 years ago where you'd be right now, you'd be like, you're full of shit. I'll be this engineer at this company banking this, right?
Oh, I know. It's like, it's funny because, we all have these like influences. And when I had, like my brother and sister and I, when we were all 18, like we were all gone, right? Like to never return. And, we all have that entrepreneur blood. My sister, she's right around top 100 at Keller Williams. She has a 10-person team. My brother has his own place, his own brokerage. He has a 5-person team. And, we're just entrepreneurs. We still do real estate invest. I stopped investing. I now lend money on real estate. So I went from investor to lender just because it doesn't take any of my time. So that's another way that I've generated, income from real estate. So yeah, it's just like we just have this, family. It's just a bunch of entrepreneurs. But when I quit except for my dad's, when I quit the job, he just thought I was the craziest person. And when my sister dropped out of college, just thought that she was like going to ruin her life.
How was that conversation, dude? Like what was that like?
Well, no, I remember my dad calling about my sister. It's like, you're not going to believe this, but your sister just dropped out of school. And I'm like, to do what? And he's like, to get into sales. Like how crazy is that? And she was doing all this MLM stuff for a while. And then when she got to Michigan, she just came across, getting her license to generate some extra income because she was doing mortgages at the same time. It's like, wait a second, the realtors are making more money than the loan people, so I better, go get my real estate license. You know what I mean? And that's just the way, it's just in our blood, I guess.
How do you think that is, man? It's because, your parents were entrepreneurs. But all of
my mom was, my dad wasn't. They're like the complete opposite people, right? And just like my wife and I, we're just complete opposite people. If I married myself, I'd be divorced. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that opposites attracted. You got to have that balance.
You got to have that balance. So anyway, my mom, she was the same way. She just hustled, right? She had, because us kids were in school, she cleaned houses, and I grew up with that was like a negative. And it wasn't until I got older did I see that as a positive. And it was just a way for her to work for herself. She actually enjoyed, what she did. She was good at it. She went back to school. She got her master's. She then got into teaching. It's just like you got to have you got to have something going on that you're excited about, that you enjoy doing. And then stuff changes, over time. Where my dad, it was just like, go get a job, a paycheck, security, and after 40 years when I retire, then I will get 2 weeks off. And it's like, why wait 40 years?
Right.
It's like, just ask yourself better questions. You'll get you'll get much better answers.
Yeah, and all this sort of with your one question of like, what do I do if I lose my job? Like how can I make money on my own? I think especially when people start having kids. If our responsibility is to create opportunities for our families, we got to be asking ourselves that. We can't allow ourselves and our family members to become in a vulnerable state. And if you can't go out there and generate money on your own, you put yourself in a vulnerable state, period, And
it's so funny, in having, I doubt my in-laws will ever watch this, but talking to my in-laws about sending the kids to college.
I'm tagging the shit out of you on Facebook in this, too, so they'll probably see it.
But when I tell them that, the kids' college fund won't have to go to college if they want to use it to open a small business or, invest or whatever the case may be. I'm not one that thinks in 20 years sending my kids to college to get a job is going to be the best idea, right? I look at my kids and the best thing that I could possibly do for them is, one, provide them, but two, teach them that, they're creators and, we need to create. We need to rely on ourselves. The minute that you go get a job, you're relying on somebody else. Yep. And I think there's this huge risk in that. And we live in a world now with the online where I think everybody is their own media company. And this. I mean, you got your GSD. You're rocking it out. You're creating content. You're building out media. You're building out platforms. I think that is way more valuable than college education. Kids go to school these days and they're required to remember stuff you can look up on your phone.
Yep.
That's
yeah, but dude, it's so, because you and I are both in the coaching space, and it just fucking baffles my mind. Dude, people will go put themselves in 6 figures of debt for an education to get a shitty job, but they won't spend $1,000 on your internet program to learn how to go out there and make millions. Right? So it's a crazy world that we live in, dude.
Because they've been indoctrinated by media and government for so long that this is the best way to go, and it's no longer the best way to go. There is no security. There's not going to be any security. We got to make our own security. Right? And that's the way that I feel. I don't want to be dependent on government. I don't want to be dependent on somebody else. So who does that leave? It leaves me.
Yep.
And I want to be able to have kids that if they want to get a job, great. But if they don't, then they don't need to. And the one thing, I talk about my dad and the security, and I didn't. I knew there was something wrong with that, but make no mistake, when I was, what grade was I in? 6th or 7th grade, I made the basketball team, and I come home and I was like, well, hey, the team all elected that we're going to get Bo Jacksons, and Bo Jacksons were like $100. I still don't buy $100 sneakers, and it's like 20 some years later. And Dad's like, I'll make a deal with you. He's like, you go get a job. He's like, you pay for one shoe, I'll pay for the other. Right. So something that both my parents did was instill that if you want something, you got to go work for it. Right. Like, you're not getting 2 shoes out of me. We'll split it. The only job I could get at 7th grade was a paper route, so I had to go out and get a paper route. And then my brother went out and got a paper route, and that's how we, made money, because, if we wanted something, we had to be able to, we had to make the money to go get it.
Yep, no, I love it, dude. I love it. So being a badass internet marketer, and I know you're a humble guy, you don't like to brag. See, I don't want to see you're downplaying your internet marketing skills here, but when you say, okay, I do internet marketing for a couple of the coaches, and you don't have to name drop if you don't want to, and I don't know if you're allowed to name drop, but being friends, these are some of the top coaches that exist on the freaking planet. So these aren't just like little people, right? So you've got a skill set that's in high demand that you kick ass at. We're in the internet space. Every marketer needs to be heavy in the internet marketing. So let's kind of talk about that. Let's maybe talk about, because your skill set's high, bro. You're always a huge resource to me and have helped me a ton in this space grow my business. What are maybe some of the top mistakes that you're seeing people do out there right now? A lot of these marketers, whether it's real estate or not, it doesn't really matter. You're a marketer, right?
Yeah.
Like what do you see with these guys? Like what are like the 2 or 3 things like they're just freaking missing the ball on, and if they don't jump on this, dude, they're probably going to be extinct.
So a couple things, and I can relate it to real estate, pretty easily. But one is you have to realize that every one of us is, we're all a media company, right? Like, and the more media that you own, the better, right? So, and I'm talking about media across, platforms. The more audience that we can get ourselves in front of, that we actually own, whether it's, email databases or subscribers or fans or whatever. Like, you need them all. You need them across platforms. So when you have something to promote or something to offer, you're in control of that traffic. That's traffic that you own, right? So there's traffic that you don't own and don't control, which is just your random organic stuff. And that's not a really good strategy. It's okay, but I would rather control the traffic, which is paid, right? I would pay to get in front of those eyeballs, like Facebook advertising, YouTube, or traffic that I control and own, which is your email database, your subscribers. So just thinking in terms of like media and platforms, like the old school is TV, radio, newspapers. And they all had the eyeballs. That's where the eyeballs were. Well, the eyeballs have now shifted online, and more importantly, social media, and that's where the eyeballs are. So we need to, just like what I said in real estate, you had to follow the paper. The only paper left was residential. That's why we got in residential real estate. That was the only reason. In marketing, it's where are the eyeballs. And the great thing about online is you can actually own the media, where TV, radio, newspaper, you always have to pay them. So you never own it. And in social media, you get to actually own it, which is insanely exciting. So whether it's internet marketing or your real estate business, you need to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible. Now here, the Joy Daniels Group, everywhere you go, there they are, right? The strategy of preeminence. Everywhere you go, there they are. And you're working on it. Like, everywhere your audience goes, whether it's entrepreneurs and realtors, there's where you want to be. Right? And that's what you're doing, and that's what you're working on. And that strategy has to be done, I think, by everybody in every company. So here, if you go on Craigslist, there they are. Right? Go on social media, there they are. Drive around town, there they are. Like, they're everywhere. Yep. So it's like, I want to be everywhere. Because, as Grant Cardone says the biggest threat to a small business is obscurity. People just don't know about us. They don't know what we have to offer. They don't know anything about our products and services. And you could be the best in the world, but if nobody knows about it, what good is it? So that's...
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, dude. And guys like you and I, we might have the money to throw 20 G's a month at online marketing and Facebook ads. But let's say you're a new entrepreneur. And you don't have a budget, or it's very small. Like, let's say you have a budget, but it's like $300 a month, dude. Like that's your starting budget. where would you recommend that they start? And where would they get the best bang for the buck spending that to control those eyeballs? And then, because the goal, like you and I are heavy on Facebook, but it's not just to own the eyeballs on Facebook, it's to own them there, but then offer something so then we get them into our list and then we own them in our list. Now we can advertise for them for free. So like what do you do? It's different for you and I, right? Compared to that person starting out. So what would you recommend for someone starting out?
Anybody starting out, I don't care. So if we're talking entrepreneurs, like I would honestly go find somebody that wants something and will pay for it and then go get it, right? It's like selling something like online. We've sold products and programs before they were even created.
Yep.
Right? Like I want to sell it first and then I'll fulfill it. Because what everybody gets it backwards. They're like, oh, I'm going to create this product or program, and then they go launch it and then nobody buys it and they wasted all their time. So, to shift their mindset, it's like go out and find a local business owner who will give you $50 to get in front of 100 college kids, right? And then when he gives you the $50, then go find the college kids, right? Get paid find something that somebody will pay for first, and then go find whatever that is.
Yep.
That's what I would do. So that's just a way to think about it. But go to a local business, find how much they'll pay to get in front of whoever, and then go find that whoever.
Yep. No, I love it, dude. That's a great strategy, bro. So when you talk about, okay, you're using Joy Daniels is your example. You're in their office right now. She's one of your coaching clients. So conquering that obscurity, are you talking just online or do you still recommend some of the old school stuff? Like I get asked all the time, hey, Josh, should I start farming? Should I start direct mail marketing? Do you recommend having a combination of them, or like are you just chips all in online?
Well, okay. So what are the ways that people can get in front of people? You got the media, and then you got your touches like calling people, meeting people, in mail or email, right? There's only so many ways that you can, and then you got online and offline, right? So you'd be crazy to do just one, right? You want to dominate online, but you also want to dominate offline. You want people seeing your signs everywhere, right? You want people pulling your flyers. You want people calling you. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's any way where think about eyeballs. Where are the eyeballs? People are driving in their cars and they see your signs. Every time that they see your sign, that's an impression.
Yep.
Right? And the more impressions, after a while, like here, they had gotten on the radio. They're in a rate group, do the Glenn Beck thing, and it took 6 months of competitive, and then it just hit, right? It took 6 months to indoctrinate or have the impressions to where when people started thinking about selling, they were thinking about them. Right, so it's because everybody tries something once and then says it doesn't work. Like farming, they'll mail out a home value postcard and be like, "Oh, I didn't get that many leads." Like, no, you got to get in front of those people over and over again. My sister does half of her business from direct mail farming, and she said she broke even at 6 months, got an ROI in a year, and now has done it for the past 4 years since she's been in Virginia. Right, so it took a year to get a return on investment, but she knew that she was just planting seeds, right? And it's seed time harvest. Everybody forgets about the time in between, and they just want it like right now. And in real estate, we're not in the right now business.
Right.
We are in the, seed a lot of time harvest business, and people just want to skip the time part, and you can't skip the time part. So, but the cool thing about marketing, man, is everything is a test. Right? This is why you got to know your numbers and be able to track all of your marketing to know the return on investment. And everything's a test. I've seen people, crush Facebook ads, and then next thing you know, like everybody's doing the same thing, and now your ROI goes down. Right? So it's like, or I've seen things work in some markets that that didn't work in others. Is anybody out there that says this is the way and it'll work everywhere? It's kind of
bullshit.
Yeah, that's totally not true. I look at marketing as soldiers. They go out and then they're going to go out to battle for you, and some are going to win and some are going to lose, and that's why I need to know the ROI on everything.
So speaking of that, dude, so like your sister or your other coaching clients, you can send out a mail piece. and get nothing, or you can send out a mail piece and get a great call to action. Right? We're talking about ad copy, what's on there. So effort doesn't pay the rent. It's doing the effort with of course the right strategy, right? The right recipe, the right roadmap. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people doing? Maybe they're hitting these, maybe they're hitting them for a year consistently, but it's just like, oh, hey, list your house with me or do this because I'm number one, and nobody gives a shit.
That was my number two. When you asked me the three biggest mistakes, I would say number two is people talking about themselves. Like, no one cares. Like, literally no one cares. The consumer does not care. All they care about is themselves, where they are, where they want to be, how the heck they can get there as quickly as possible, and you may or may not be able to solve that problem. Like, no one cares that you're number one. No one cares that you have designated. Like, they don't care, right? They care about themselves. Social media is the greatest, especially Facebook, the greatest lead generating platform of all time. And it is the greatest generating platform of all time for the simple fact that no one cares about what you have to say about you. They do care what other people say about you. And when people are on social media talking about you and giving you good reviews, or you're doing success stories and telling a story of how you helped that other person and what problems you solved and what challenges you were able to help them overcome, and thank them for the opportunity, right? So it's about them. It's not about you. And Facebook can get in front of their database and their audience, which is super cool and highly leveraged and zero cost. But that's, I'm a direct response guy. It's about making the best offers to the right audience at the right time versus having anything to do about me. If people could sell the house on their own and do such a as good a job as you, they wouldn't even, need you, right? But they can't. Most consumers can't market and negotiate and keep stuff legal and paperwork and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So anyway, mistakes number two is like, don't ever talk about yourself. It drives me crazy when I see, real estate agents online saying, either one, talking negative about any client or closing or other realtor or anything like that. Negativity, leave that, the media does that for you. You don't need to put negativity out to the universe. And two, we set, 3 appointments today, or, we had 3 closings today. Like, no, you helped 3 families achieve their real estate goals, right? Get from A to B. Tell that story. Don't talk about how you had closings. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, do a picture with them in front of the house holding a sold sign, honored to help such and such, accomplish their real estate goals and move into their first home, blessed and honored to work with you.
Problems you solved. Yeah. Or like, hey, I saved them an extra 10 grand or whatever, right? Like, again, we talked about obscurity, and people just they don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. They don't know what problems you solve. They don't know why you're different and better than the other person, right? And that people remember stories. The whole Bible is just a story, right? Like, talk and stories. Stories are by far your best marketing. Testimonials are just stories. Testimonials are social proof, third-party proof. Stories are your best marketing. Tell success stories. Don't talk about yourself.
Yep, dig it, dude, dig it. All right, so give me a sample of, like, if you were going to start doing a direct mail piece, and then I'll ask you a second part to this on like a Facebook ad, but we'll just keep using real estate agents. Half our audience is real estate agents. So if you're doing a direct mail piece right now to a neighborhood that you want, price point that you want, to a house, so you've kind of identified your ideal client. What does that say? I mean, you've already said, okay, it's not going to be about me. It's not about hype marketing. It's about what's in it for them. But you only have like 2 seconds, right? From the countertop to the trash can to capture their attention. Like, what's maybe a compelling headline that you've done personally that's worked, or maybe that's some of your clients that you recommend that's getting results?
Yeah, the only 2 that I know of, if you want to go straight retail route, it's the home value farming, and then when they opt in for their home value, they're then put on a monthly, a different campaign, right? So where monthly they're receiving a newsletter from you that's all about maximizing the value of their home, right? So it's very congruent.
So and
home value leads aren't necessarily seller leads, and I want to tell people that, like, everything on Facebook home value stuff. They're home value leads. They're not seller leads. Some are sellers, most aren't, right? But I want someone to opt in, get into my list, and then obviously nurture that list over time. So the people that haven't opted in get the home value offer. The people that opted in are getting newsletters about how to maximize the value of their home if and when they do sell, right? So it's coming from contribution. You're adding value. You're not talking about you, right? You have your offer and call to action on there, but at the end of the day, it's great information that they're receiving. They're receiving it each and every month, so they're seeing you, right? And then you just do, quarterly phone calls and, just see if they need anything, see when they may be able, if they're moving, do they know anybody, so on and so forth. So anyway, and that's another, we don't want to treat everybody the same, right? People that had never opted in are getting different treatment than the people that opted in. And then obviously the people that you meet are going to get treated even better and differently. It's kind of working people up, a value ladder, so to speak. What we used to do, because we were investors, we would send direct mail about, that we buy houses. And then when people would call, we would say, hey, we also have a real estate team. I have 3 different options. I'm going to come out. I'll give you what I can buy it for. I can give you what, our guaranteed sale price and then our retail price. And then you guys just get to decide what the best option for you. But I'm going to come out with options and I'm going to come out with an offer. Right. So we did direct mail as an investor and then direct mail as retail. And those 2 campaigns are the ones that, produce the most. And they got to be targeted. They totally, you don't just send, you want to do your market research. You want to keep it very, very targeted because, again, to make a sale, I don't care if it's real estate marketing or entrepreneur marketing, you have to have the right product at the right price in front of the right person at the right time. That's a lot of variables. Yep. Right? And that's why in the direct response world, if you're getting 1% to 2%, you're actually doing, pretty good because, again, all of those variables have to line up. And that's why, everybody just tries to go out and do the buyer suck or the now money. And, you're always going to be chasing people if that's how, if that's all that your business relies on. So those are the 2 direct mail. And then I would do postcards and letters, because some people like the postcards, are going to read them. And then some people will open a letter and it's like, oh, this guy actually took some time. You know what I mean? So I would do, if you're doing direct mail campaigns, I would do both postcards and letters, back and forth.
So when you're writing those letters, do you recommend it like a handwritten letter, blue ink, first class stamp to get, a stamp to get it opened or?
Yeah. So you just have your admin write them out. You sign them. They send them first class mail. So it looks like, so somebody did take the time and don't do, I don't know. I'm not a yellow letter guy. I don't, I know if I got a yellow letter, I just like, why did they use, a notepad? Like, I don't know. That's just me. But, so yeah, I would do letters and, postcards, and then you got to do it over a period of time. And then make sure everything's tracked. The best thing that I can recommend people for tracking, it's called If by Phone. It's like $60 a month, $1.50 an extension, and it records the phone calls, right? And then it has routing, so you can send it to different salespeople, and then it records stuff and tracks it. So you, as the team owner, can listen in on how these conversations are going to know whether or not your salespeople are, converting right and having the right discussions and making the right offers on the phone. Super cheap, everything's tracked, and you can eavesdrop. It is by far the best tool out there. Anybody that's not using it by phone, I think, is crazy.
Yep. No, dig it. Yeah, because each marketing piece can have its own, subdivision can have their own. All right, dude, so then let's switch to the online space, bro. So what do you see that's working right now for entrepreneurs, real estate space, regular entrepreneurs? We'll just keep going home sellers, dude. Like the home valuation, hey, click here for 100% free, no obligation home valuation is so played out. Do you find that that's still working for your clients, or do you find a different approach is working better?
No, to be honest, in spending a couple $100,000 on Facebook marketing for realtors over the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, I think that your best money on Facebook, and to be different, is to target the trade up buyer that has a home to sell. So generate targeted trade up buyer leads. So they're buyer leads, they're cheaper, and they show more intent, that also have a home to sell. Like I have a guy that used to be on our team. He does one thing, and he works trade up open houses every Sunday, and he sells $9 million a year because, one, he increased his income, or increased his sale price. Right, it's a trade up sale price. Two, odds are those people have a home to sell, so now he's getting 2 transactions per client, and 1 at a trade up sale price. So if you do it out, in our market, we're 171 average sale price. So he's kind of, with the trade up and the 2 transactions, he's really 3xing his income per client, and only having to deal with 1 client. So it's brilliant, and it's simple, and the guy's very successful, and he doesn't have to chase down people. They come to him, right? That's another thing. Like, I'd rather attract, i.e. be in a home that somebody wants to buy, versus like chasing people down. And I've chased plenty of people down. People don't like to be chased. I don't like to be chased. So on Facebook, I'd be targeting the trade up buyer that would also have a home to sell, so you can get your price point up and have more transactions per client.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, dude. It's in the online space anyway, and all we go after is buyer leads. Like you said, number one, they're a hell lot cheaper. We're under $2. Like if I spend $2 a lead, that's a lot of money, right? Like typically we get them under $1 a buyer lead. But what gets sellers excited, at least online, is not thinking about selling. They're going out there and searching, okay, hey, does this home that we want to buy exist? And that's what gets them excited. So yeah, I found that to hold true as well, dude. So all right, bro. What do you do personally? I want to kind of switch courses here. What do you do personally? Because for you, and I guess to continue adding value for you to your clients and everybody, you've got to stay ahead of the curve, right? So you're always studying new trends out there. You're always like, I'll say 10 steps ahead of most entrepreneurs, but probably 100 steps ahead of the average realtor. Right? Like you're really good at that. What do you do for self-development? You talk about, okay, I got to become a media company. Well, realtors might hear that. Well, shit, dude, I don't know anything about media. What do you do for self-development? What do you recommend other entrepreneurs to start with self-development so they can be ahead of these trends? So it's like Wayne Gretzky said, right? I don't skate where the puck is. I go to where it's going, which is what you're doing at a very, very great level. And that's why you're so successful, because people are paying you for your knowledge. So what do you personally do for that?
Well, one, I have just a hunger to keep learning, right? And to learning from people that are at 10x levels. Like I listen to podcasts of Tim Ferriss, Brendan Burchard, like the guys that are at the top of the food chain, who understand media or understand biohacking or understand whatever the case may be, right? Like you want to be, and not only do I listen to them to kind of gauge how, or delivering the content, it's how are they building out audiences? Like the Bulletproof guy is
Dave Asprey.
That guy's got his game on. Like he's like Brendan Burchard. Like they're almost like flawless. How well? Like I picked up his book. He's got his own product line, right? He's got all this media traffic that the dude is on fire.
Yeah, he gets me for about $500 a month, dude.
Yeah, and so I learned something this morning drinking my Bulletproof coffee, that I got some butter or oil on the side of it, and when I picked it up, it just flew out of my hand, and 16 ounces of coffee just went everywhere.
And that shit's like gold, dude. Like because it takes you 20 minutes to make it. So if you spill it, you're like, what the?
I told my wife, I was like, I learned something new about Bulletproof coffee today, that if you get it on the side, it's going to slip right out of your hand.
You just do 1 cup in the morning, or do you do multiple throughout the day?
No. Caffeine has a half-life, and I like being able to, calm down at the end of the night. But in the mornings, I have the Bulletproof coffee, and then I have like a lemon, raw wild honey and some apple cider vinegar drink, and then I have my green smoothie, and that kind of takes me to like lunchtime, and then I have a big salad. Afternoon, I have a Quest bar, and then, a healthy dinner most times.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still human. But yeah, I mean, you got to take care of, you know, you got to take care of your body, or you'll never be able to succeed at a high level. You'll never be able to influence people in sales conversations. You'll never be able to implement fast enough. You know, you're the one that introduced me to, you know, Grant Cardone's 10X. I listen to that like every morning while I'm making the green smoothie. I got the 10X on. It just gets me, you know, just gets me all fired up. I love it. I cannot get enough of it. But, you know, some of the lessons that I learned there was, you know, people always underestimate what it's going to take to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. Like, always underestimate the time and the energy and the money and the resources, the capital, the number of calls, whatever the case may be, right? So it's like, you know, I see too many people that got these goals, and that's great, and they're, you know, they're hustling, and but they don't realize that it's going to take more than that, but not just more effort, but more, you know, focused effort. And that's the number one thing I see wrong with entrepreneurs is they wear too many hats. Right? Like, if you're a real estate agent and you come to me and say, hey, I want to make 100 grand. Well, that means you need to make $50 an hour, right? If you only want to work 40 hours a week, you need to make $50 an hour. So what in real estate makes above 50 an hour, and then what in real estate makes below 50 an hour? Every single time that you do something that makes below $50 an hour, you're stealing from your family, because it can be higher for somebody else. So anytime and I got the stealing from your family. Kevin Nations did that to me, and I'll never forget it, and I thank him for it. But, you know, when you do those tasks, I mean, you're literally losing money. And in business, we cannot afford to lose money, right? So the more that you're aware of, like, I got out of my email recently. You know, I hired a girl out of Florida that used to work for me. She does all my email, my KPIs, my financials, because I realized how much time it was taking, and I could hire her at $20 an hour and get out of it. And it just not only freed up my time, but it freed up my energy. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have like customer emails and stuff that would kind of, you know, bring me down on an energy level. And so people got to get out of a lot of these hats that they're wearing. Like, it's impossible to make the money that you want to make. And even if you're hustling, if you're wearing, you know, all of those hats.
Yep. Love it, dude. Love it. So what do you do because, I mean, you're always leveling up. You're taking it to the next level. You know, you started with laundromats to, you know, buying homes, to the real estate team, to, you know, where you are now, man. So you're always leveling up, dude. What do you do in your life to goal set and kind of reflect and see where you're all, you know, where are you at? And then how do I level up? Like, how does that look like? What is your routine for goal setting? How often are you reviewing it? What's that look like, dude?
Well, every day. So I do like the miracle mornings, and in the mornings I do a journal. So, you know, I write out my goals in the morning. I do, and then one thing that I started recently doing is writing out my goals, but in a story of a perfect day. Right? So it's like every morning, you know, I wake up, you know, at 5 a.m. next to my beautiful wife, which I already have that, right? So, you know, immediately begin my miracle morning, and then I weave in my goals to a story, because visually it's going to make it a whole lot better and easier for you, because if we can't do what we can't see, right? Like, if we can't see it, it'll never happen. So you have to visually be able to picture yourself, you know, accomplishing the goals. So, and stories, what I say, stories are your best marketing. People remember stories. So I write out my goals into a story, and it is made a huge difference, because I'm combining, you know, a lot of mental factors there. I'm very specific, and then I also like tie some emotions, you know, to it. So like it's like, okay, well, you know, and then after I do a couple hours of epic content creation, I hop onto a Skype call, you know, with Christine to go over our financials, and we're having record-breaking daily sales. And then I just feel like what it's going to feel like when I hop on that call and go over record-breaking daily sales, right? You got to have that heat in the oven, or the cake's not going to bake. You know what I mean? So you got to have that enthusiasm. You got to put the emotion in it. You got to see it. And so stories, and yeah, I write the stuff out every day. I talk it out loud while I'm writing it, and then I reread it, at night after the girls go down. And and it works if you work it. I had this one goal. Like right now, like where I am in life, I've completely created exactly where I am right now. And I had this, this vision of lifestyle, time, business, how it all, work together in agreement. And that's another thing that I think people struggle with is, if you look at all the areas of your life like family, faith, fitness, and finance, everybody thinks that something has to come at the cost of something else, right? Like if I want to eat healthy and I want to buy organic stuff, well, that costs more money. So it's an add on my health, but it's a subtraction in my finances, right? And people don't sit down and figure out, how do I have all areas of my life in agreement and thinking in areas of abundance and having everything across all things versus something coming at the expense of another. Like if I work later, it's going to come at the expense of my family, right? Or if I have to work on something, it'll come at the expense of my faith. So it's either A or B. They live this life of A or B, rather than everything in agreement, abundance, and everything in all. And so I don't know even how I got down.
Yeah, no, but I like that you brought that up because it does, I think there's a lot of truth to the saying, and just let me know your thoughts, as maybe you disagree with me, but there is truth to the saying that success does not come without sacrifice. But what you're saying is, hey, I have clarity on what I want in my life in these 4 pillars, these 4 arenas, so I'm going to sacrifice the other shit. I'm going to sacrifice TV. I'm going to sacrifice happy hour at Buffalo Wild Wings with the guys, right? Like you're cutting out the things that aren't getting you the things you want in your life. You're cutting out the dissipation, right? So there's still things you got to cut out, but not the things that matter to you in your life. Not your health, not your money, not your finances, not your family, not your faith.
Yeah, so, but even in those, like how can you say, okay, how can I increase my finances or income streams or revenue per sale so that that money will pay for the organic stuff, right? It's not an A or B. Like how can everything be in agreement and help each other out versus always the one coming at the expense of another.
Going at with the thought process of, okay, this organic food, this fuel is going to give me more energy, so now I can do more in the time that I have and make more money.
Yeah, okay. And I guess what you're saying is sacrifice. Like, do I like, the taste of the green smoothie? No. Like, I don't. Everything that I eat and drink isn't like taste good. Right? Like for whatever reason, God made stuff that's healthy that just isn't the best tasting stuff. So it's just like I don't consume it for the taste. I consume it for what, I'm going to get out of it and how, good it makes me, feel. So I guess there is some, sacrifices. I just don't, I'm very cognizant of my time because I think it's our most valuable, resource. Money's replaceable, time's not. And, I also keep in mind that, how do I have my life just, incongruent or being congruent versus everything decision you got to make's either, A or B, and something's got to come at the expense of something else. And that's just a crappy way to live.
Yeah, dude. And you and I, unfortunately, we don't get as much time as we'd like to talk because we're both grinding so hard. But every few months we jump on the phone, and a few months ago I'm talking, you just got back, you were down in Florida for several months with your family. You're like, dude, I'm in a position where I can just take my family, get up and go for a few months. So I know that you go out there and you invest in that family time. But with also all these businesses that you have, with doing that, spending that family time, how do you, I don't believe balance exists. Like, what do you do to make sure that, okay, like I've got this new project, but I also got to be present in my wife's life, my kids' lives. What are some things that you do, some tactics to try to make sure that you're not too far to whack?
Yeah, well, one, you got to get leverage. You absolutely have to get leverage. The reason that, I was able to, Pennsylvania, the winters suck. And it got really cold. My wife's, we have a new, just had a second baby, and she's stuck in the house. And, in January, she's like, how the hell do we get out of this house with these girls? And I said, you go online, you get some flights to Florida, right? And we go to Florida and we don't come back until it's springtime. And she thought I was kidding. And then 2 days later, I was like, the dog didn't even want to be outside. And I was like, book the flights, we'll go down for, 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. We'll go to Orlando, Daytona. We got friends down there. And she's like, are you serious? I was like, absolutely, book it. And went to Florida, like just on a whim, right? No planning, no nothing. Like, boom, we're going to Florida. It's way too cold up here. And so, in going to Florida, I basically I took a lot of time off. I spent it on the beach, spent it with my kids, and I can, the businesses that I'm in were created for lifestyle first, so I can make those decisions if I wanted to. That doesn't mean you just get to take off whenever you want, but I have really good people working for me in key areas. So if I'm at the beach, I just need to make sure that certain people are doing certain things and that the campaigns are set up for the week or whatever, we're good to go. And if I don't want to work that week, I don't have to work, that week. And we have campaign calendars, so we're not like wondering what we're going to market and when. And, Walmart doesn't, September doesn't roll around and Walmart's like, oh, what are we doing for back to school special? Right? They got a year's worth of campaigns figured out the year before. Like, they're never guessing what the next campaign is. So the same way with the internet marketing stuff, we have just campaigns scheduled out. Just make sure that stuff, the tester says, yep, we're good to go, and then you launch the campaign. And I get to be as involved or not, because I have good people working for me. And, when do you hire someone? One, when you can afford it, and two, when they're way better at it than you are. And in real estate, I tell people that, they got to get out of, photography. They got to get out of, contract to close, and get out of those hats and get people. And there's companies now that do this stuff for you. They're way better than you at it. You don't have to recruit and hire and train and manage and lead and motivate, because I'm not a good manager. And I'm not a good manager because I can't be managed. I'm unmanageable, right? So
that's why you're an entrepreneur, man.
Yeah, so for me to be unmanageable, and then for me to be a good manager, I'd be out of alignment thinking that I'm going to be a good manager. So I hire really good people at task specific things that are 10 times better at it than I am.
How do you find them, dude? Because obviously you've got great people in place. How do you find them? You identify the need, so you kind of covered that. Okay, here's my weakness. Here's what I need to get out of. I'm going to find the most badass person in the space at this. But then what do you do? How do you interview them? Do you do a series of interviews? Do you put them through tests? How do you go out there and ensure that you're not making the wrong hire? I know you can't get it right 100% of the time, but how do you ensure you get it right more than you get it wrong?
A couple things. One, your sphere is going to be your best place to go. For me, I have an awesome network of people where when I say, this is who I'm looking for, this is what I need, or whatever the case may be, they usually have those resources, right? Number two, I do use VAs. One of the secrets of using VAs is you absolutely positively have to have it documented, and you have to have a video of you doing it and talking through it. So when you're asleep and they're awake, they can watch a video of you doing whatever it is that you want them to do. And that covers 90% of your VA problems of outsourcing. I see people that want to outsource sales and phone calls, and it's no. The person touch thing you can't outsource. You can outsource the marketing, or something go into your Red X and do your stuff for your sale by owners and send out the mailing pieces. But I see people trying to outsource the sales and the human touch, and sorry, big mistake, ain't gonna happen. So the VAs, you got a video stuff. I go on Fiverr. I'll read reviews. My transcriber, she's in Australia. I'll send her a ton of business. Anytime I see really good marketing or ad copy or videos, I just shoot her the video. She transcribes it. It's $1 a minute, and now I have really good ad copy that I can then model for one of my videos. So I'm pretty good at modeling stuff, not copying, but modeling stuff, and that provides me shortcuts as well. But the people thing, and then you saying, do you interview them, this and that, it's task specific stuff. So guess what? When you get that task specific thing, that's your job interview. And depending on how you do and how fast you are and, so on, that's your job interview. So I'm going to give you something to do, and then how well you do it and how fast you do it, that's how I interview people. I give them something to do, and then I'll see how they make out, see if they're worth, having them give them something else to do.
Instead of talking, how can you be an asset to this organization? It's like, no, we're not going to talk. Let's just go on results, dude. Show me what you're doing.
Yeah, show me that interview. Yeah, dude. Like resumes, they're all fluff. No, I don't care. I really don't care. I care about results, what you can do in my business, how you can help me out. And I'm really not going to know that until you actually, do it. So I like to outsource stuff. I like to keep things task specific. Even my funnels guy, is on an hourly, on a per project, basis, 10 times faster than I am. I'll send stuff over that's not even makes coherent sense, and he'll just get it looking good and everything, send it back. I'm like, all right, here, and we're good to go. So yeah, the people thing, you got to get that leverage, and I don't think you bring somebody in and just dump them all your crap and then hope that they do well. I think you outsource. It's very task specific, and those companies already recruited, hired, trained, and manage those people, so I don't have to. Right. I don't want to do that. I want to go out and make sales. I don't want to be training an admin or training a contract to close. Outsource that stuff. Go to anotherme.com, great transaction coordinator company. They got great people that are ready to go. And because finding people takes a lot of time, and then you could be wrong, and then you got to start over. And I want the shortcut, man. I want to skip all that stuff.
Yep. Dig it, dude. Love it, man. All right, dude. So we've hit pretty heavily on all your successes, and you've had a ton of them, bro. What are some of maybe the biggest failures? And I only think of failure as if you quit, right? And you haven't quit, you keep pushing. I think of failure as always as learning experiences, right? That's when we truly grow and what defines us. So through this journey, which has been a pretty gnarly journey, dude, you've done a lot of shit, a lot of epic shit. What were maybe some of those biggest learning experiences, biggest failures that, knocked you flat out at that time, but were holy crap, that was the best thing that really ever happened to me at that point in my life. I wouldn't be where I am without those. What's maybe a couple of those that you've experienced?
Well, one, obviously losing my job the day that I asked that $1 million question, right? That was I took that. I literally had no negative feelings towards it. I just took it as a sign, from the universe. Two, since we do like to learn a lot. At the end of the day, that's all well and good, but the only thing that counts is action and testing the marketplace and seeing what the marketplace has to say. Again, they don't care about you, right? They have a problem. They're looking to get a solution. And you may or may not be convince them that you're the best, solution to that problem. Another thing that I used to focus on was just how to make as much money as possible, right? That was just the focus. The focus was the money. And I learned that is going to be completely unfulfilling. And when you do get the money, it's going to be completely empty. And making a shift from how do I make as much money as possible to how do I produce as much value as possible, and then how do I produce value that then is able to have a further transference of value, right? How do I provide value to somebody that then can provide value to somebody else? And so that's been a major shift, because I've made the money and then I just completely miserable. You can talk to my sphere or my board of advisors and some of the guys that I talk to on a daily basis. And literally last November to January, we completely record sales. It was mind blowing. And I was just completely upset. I was just we did, over 6 figures in sales, and I'm just I was just empty.
Yep.
It was just my focus was money, and it wasn't on, producing value, even though I wouldn't sell anything that I didn't think had value. It's just it wasn't a transference of value. And that's why I like the live events and interacting with people and helping them out and solving their problems, not just to solve their problems, but those problems then provide a better client experience, right? So it's not just me helping, a business owner out, but helping them then change the client experience. So now I'm not only helping them, I'm helping their clients. And at the end of the day, that client's not going to go away and talk smack about your business or talk smack about realtors in general and how they're all the same and, so on and so forth, right? So it's like that's where I kind of made a focus when I did make the money, and it was like, wait a second, there's something missing. And now when it's like, how do I produce enough, like massive amounts of value that then can transfer through that other person? And it brings a lot more fulfillment in, what I do. Another thing that it wasn't until I met Curtis Johnson did I realize how underpaid I was. And in debt to that guy forever. I ran up to him at a Kinder Reese conference. I was like, you're not going to believe this. We upped our back end fee. We outsourced contract to close. My wife's got, all this time back, blah, blah, blah. And he's like leaned back and laughed at me. And he's like, man, that's just tip of the iceberg, and he's taught me how to, one, be positioned completely different, and two, be able to profit from that, positioning. And it's something that I take across, all my businesses. And I think that people are, chasing people down and having a race to the bottom and cutting all their, cutting, commissions or fees or cutting what they're receiving. And I think it's the complete opposite way to go. Like, how do you position yourself differently? How do you add more value? How do you communicate that so you can get paid more? So, like I said, an hour ago or whenever it was, in our first year we did the 200,000. Well, we'd have done 250 had I known what I know now in terms of, getting paid what you're worth. So I think that's another mistake that I made for years, that it was just, not getting paid what you're worth, and knowing, and be, just putting a stamp on it. Like, I can't lose money, right? Like, I can't walk out of this place and lose money, right? None of our clients go to work every day for free.
Right.
Right. Like, but they expect us to work for free. And I don't believe that to be.
Give me all your free shit.
Yeah, it was just like, everything's free. They all want free, but they don't go to work for free. So they're out of alignment if they, expect us to go work for free all day. And who the hell invented the real estate industry where you run around for months and months and months and hope to get paid? Right. Like, whoever invented that, and everybody's been copying it ever since. Like, whoever did that, like, made a big mistake, So anyway, people got to get paid, what you're worth. Charge higher prices, and don't just charge higher prices. Be able to deliver, massive value and get compensated for value.
Yep.
And don't ever cut it for anybody.
No, I dig it, man. I love it. Yeah, and Curtis, good buddy of mine. Dude's an absolute pimp. And those of you listeners that haven't listened to his podcast, he and I did about a 2-hour-long podcast several months ago. So go into the find it on iTunes, YouTube. You'll look up that interview. The dude's a pimp. So, all right, man. So I know you're a big reader. All leaders are reader. You're readers. You're big in your self-development. I know we read a lot of the same stuff. We're always pinging books off of each other. What are some, I don't know, I know it's so tough to narrow down. I hate asking what's your favorite book, or but what are your few top favorites? Maybe 2, 3, 4, even 5 books that you're like, okay, for all entrepreneurs, or maybe you're not an entrepreneur, maybe it's somebody listening to this podcast that's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, and here's where they're coming to kind of get their inspiration, their information, or maybe they, quote unquote, or they think they're an entrepreneur, but they're not really not. What are like those must-read books that you're like, dude, these were, and you've already mentioned a couple of them, but what were like life-altering books that you're like, dude, you guys, these are freaking must-reads. If you read these, you study these, you implement, they're game changers. What would those be?
Well, one is obviously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and just, getting into that mindset that, we have 4 choices. It's we get to be an employee, right? We get to be self-employed, which means we created our own job, and that's not a recipe for success. Business owner and an investor, So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it does not give you the how, by the way. It's just the what. It's not the how. But it'll change the way that you look at things, and that's obviously the biggest, gift.
Any particular one? Because I know he's got like a shit ton. Any particular one, or just the whole series?
The original one. No, the original. They're all good, but the original one is the foundation. Okay. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Tony Robbins' book, Money, Master the Game, is the how, right? So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the what, because it's like, it just gives you the theory. And then Tony's book is the how. And it's very intense. It's not an easy read, because it's not told like a story. It's like really literally how. And all he did was go out and interview all these billionaires, find out their secrets, and then put them into a book. So anybody serious about growing their wealth. So the one thing that the book doesn't teach you how to do is to make the money. But once you've made the money, everything else is in there for you. And I'll tell you what, it's a whole heck of a lot harder to keep and grow your money than it is to make it. Making it's easy, right? Like, we're entrepreneurs. I think our biggest challenge is picking the right opportunities, because all we see is opportunities, right? Like, we just go out, all I see is opportunities. That's so it's the opposite problem of like scarcity. It's just like, oh man, there's opportunities everywhere. Like, I can make money 15 gazillion ways, and but it's a lot harder to keep it and grow it than it is to make it. And so Think and Grow Rich, obviously I mentioned that before. That's that's just a must read. That we're creators, and whatever it is that you want in life, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. And it's just happened time and time, again, in my life. I know I had written out one statement every day for a year, and it still didn't come true. And then 3 months later, it came true. So it took 15 months instead of 12, So you just got to, stick with the mindset. Always be working on your mind. I read a really good book recently called The Traveler's Gift, and it was fantastic. And I don't want to ruin any of it, but definitely go out and get The Traveler's Gift. 10X is they should be 10X should be played at schools every morning. That's how much I like that audio book. Like, they should be playing it at all schools every morning. Just one little 10-minute clip. So, and I'm missing one. There was one recently. I'll send it. You can put it in the show notes. But it basically says that everybody, believes that life's a battle, and it's just said that life's a game, and it's a game of giving and receiving. And it's all about the laws of the universe, the law of reciprocity, the law of zero resistance, the law of order, so on and so forth, and how to get in to, having your thoughts, your beings, your actions, in line with the universe, and have the universe at your back, versus this, again, the either or stuff, the battle, everything comes at a cost, type thing. And it's made that giving and receiving, it was great, because like, you got to give first, you got to give value, and you got to give it without expectation of return, and that's when it returns to you, right? If I go and tithe and expect something for it, right, you're not gonna get anything for it. But when you tithe it cheerfully and you give and without expectation of return, knowing that it's not even your money, that it's all blessing, that's when you receive the blessings. So it's just life's a game of giving and receiving, and being in line with the universe is, I can't think of anything that would be better to have your back, so to speak. And I'll get that book to you, but it was awesome. Yep,
love it, dude, love it. Okay, so just a couple last questions for you, man. I know you got a jam soon. If you lost it all, like you lost everything, you like all this stuff that you've been built, I don't know, gets wiped out, right? Another huge contraction, depression, whatever. You lose it all. You got to rebuild, but you've got all the knowledge you have today. Like you've got your PhD up here of freaking, your entrepreneurship. You've got all that. What would you immediately do to go out there? What are the first 1, 2, 3 things you do immediately to go out there, knowing what you know now, to start rebuilding?
So if I lost it all, I don't even think about that. I almost lost it all, once. And when you lose stuff, you learn exactly what not to do, right? Like, I lost a lot of money during the shift, lending and different investments and stock, all of the, I was diversified, learned everything not to do, which is why I do them a lot better now. But if I lost it all, that's why everybody needs a list, right? Because if you lost it all, you still have people that you can say, what would you give money for, and then go fulfill on that order, so to speak. So, if you have a list, you've never lost it all because you have an asset that you can, market something to, or just ask them what they want and what they pay for, and then deliver on that. Two, I would probably, definitely do something, get back into, do something real estate related. I mean, everybody wakes up in a house every day, right? And they have two choices. They rent it or they own it. That's it. So real estate is like the most, that's why I got into it, because it provides you with leverage that you can't get anywhere else on the planet, right? When you own it, you get tax benefits and appreciation, and other people can pay the debt. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that real estate, dude, if you go out and you get your license for a couple $100, you could get a license, and then you have $1 billion worth of inventory that you can go sell and get paid a commission on. Like, how much leverage is that? That's insane leverage, So it's like, it would be, I would go find a motivated seller, and actually what we used to do was we build the buyers list first, and then go to sellers, say, hey, we have buyers, right? So, one, the list. Two, if I had to make, money, people got to move. People are buying, selling. I'd immediately jump back into selling some homes, to generate some income. And the third, I don't know, man. I don't know. Didn't think about this question, beforehand. But I guess, the third, again, is the asking people what they pay for, and then, fulfill on that order, right? And everybody's got a list, because everybody has a sphere of influence, and say, hey, you guys interested in this? Or are you interested in that? My buddy Trey makes a killing, surveying his audience to see what it is that they want, and then just delivers on that want. Like, how great is that? Like, I don't even need to go figure stuff out. They're telling me what they want. So, anyway, those are some couple things that I do on day one if I had to start from scratch.
Dig it, dude. Dig it. All right. So before I ask the last question here, how can people reach you, right? Because you do a lot of coaching, consulting, leads to profitability. You do a lot of lead generation for people, all sorts of entrepreneurs, real estate agents, entrepreneurs out there. So if somebody wants to reach you, to have a consult with you, to get a hold of you, to see about employing you for your services, dude, how would they do that? How would they reach you?
Well, one, you could private message me on Facebook. Shawn, SHAWN .Lynam, LYN as in Nancy, AM as in Mary. Actually, for this interview, I'd put together for real estate agents who want to start being able to increase their income per sale, to invest in some different things, or have your clients pay for a transaction coordinator. I put together a URL for them where they can go get a video explaining exactly what to do. It's called 500, the number 500 perclosing.com. So you go to 500perclosing.com, put in your email address, and then I'll shoot you some videos on what you need to do to start increasing your income per sale, so you can start getting out of all of those hats. So they can contact me on Facebook. You can, if you're a real estate agent, go there, or if you want to. I'm out of email right now. So I would say email me, but I'm probably it's gonna go.
You guys can always hit me up, dude, and I'll forward you. Shawn and our buddies, I'll forward you your information if I gotta get a hold of you personally.
We talk. I mean, I run my whole life now off of Trello and Boxer and Facebook Messenger. So like, we talk over Facebook Messenger. So if somebody just Facebooks me. Private message, that's the best way. I don't know how you'd find me on, Boxer, but I mean, I don't have I took a lot of stuff off my phone, got rid of a lot of the distractions, and but I do like talking to people, helping people. So just private message me, or we'll put something, below where, you'll be able to contact me without having to go through my other channels.
What's the website again?
500, the number 500, perclosing.com.
500 per closing. So this is a way that real estate agents can get their sellers and their buyers to pay an additional $500 in addition to the commission to help them either be another profit margin point or pay for support staff, all of that.
Yep, at least 500. But yeah, 500 perclosing.com will show them exactly what and more importantly why. It's a video where I talk about the too many hats and how doing certain things is stealing money from your business, and that's really why you're not making the income that you're wanting to make.
Yep, love it, dude. Dig it, man. All right, so last question, man. So we've got we have some very successful high producers that listen to the show, of course. But then we have maybe some listeners that are struggling, or maybe thinking of bridging that gap from the corporate world, just like you did when you were younger, to the entrepreneur space. Any last words of advice you have for them to, here we are, June 2015, life's brief, dude. It's so critical to go out there and create that life like you've created, right? Like you've created an epic life that doesn't drain your energy, that gives to you, that you're fulfilled. What kind of last ending words would you have to really inspire these guys to not wait, to go take action and create that? Do you have any kind of last words of encouragement?
Yeah, the universe, if you think about the universe, like everything, there's just tons of action going on, right? Like animals aren't watching TV. The ocean doesn't take a day off. Like the sun, is on a schedule. You know what I mean? Like everything's happening. Like activity is like a universal law, right? And the only thing that the universe is going to reward is people taking action. That's it. And every action that you take, every thought that you have creates a ripple effect, right? So the bigger action, the bigger ripples, the bigger the momentum. So anybody thinking about it, I'd say stop thinking. Like our mind is a terrible master and a great slave, right? If you listen to your thoughts, you're screwed. Completely screwed. But if you ask your brain great and powerful questions, well, then the universe is yours. Right? So stop thinking, stop listening to your thoughts, your emotions. And believe me, I'm guilty of it sometimes too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. But I know when I'm thinking I'm not in a good place. I need to be asking better questions and taking, more action. So if you're thinking about it, stop doing that. Start taking some actions. One, know what it is that you have a vision for your life, right? Have a vision for your day. Have a vision for what it would mean to, just have the universe at your back, So have a vision for your life and feel it. Like feel what it would be like to already have it in your, possession. Like every day, one of my big things is, my beach house, right? And every day, I feel the wind and smell the beach, and it's just like you gotta create and manifest, and you're gonna do it through repetition, visualization, and actually believing that it's gonna happen. So yeah, one, just like knowing the beginning with the end in mind and having a vision. What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your finances to look like? What do you want your family to look like? Your body, just having those things that you're going towards. And then when you get there, don't do what I've done sometimes, and you get there and you're like, you're like, oh my God, now what's next? Like I accomplished it. It's not what I thought it was going to be, so on and so forth. Like you just got to keep going and keep, growing and keep going to the next level. And no one has ever gotten anything, forget about what politicians tell you. No one's gotten anything in this life without doing something for it, right? So there's 3 steps, right? Know what you want, know how to get it, and then just go get it. That's it.
Yeah, it really is that simple, isn't it, brother? Yeah, no, I love it, dude, and I know how busy you are, man, and I greatly appreciate and honor your time today, man. This has been a dope time. Learned some things about you, some stories that I didn't even know about you, dude. We know each other for some time now. I know my listener base greatly appreciates it. You guys, again, 500 Shit, I forgot the website. 500perclosing.com. Go there now. Free video series. I'm going to tell you guys, just from knowing Shawn, and we're not outside of being good friends, we don't have any business partnerships together, so I'm not, I don't have a vested thing of saying, oh, go do this and whatever. What I'm telling you is I've never seen a piece of content that Shawn puts out there that's not amazing, right? It's not going to be junk. It's going to be valuable content that's going to help you grow your business. So go watch it right now. Hit him up if there's anything you can do. And like I end every podcast with you guys, information without implementation is delusion, right? Like Shawn's saying, dude, you got to take action. So get out there, take action. And again, dude, I know the listeners appreciate you being here, and it's been an absolute honor, brother.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Hopefully, this interview serves your audience, and hopefully everybody got something out of it that they're going to take action on immediately.
Yep. Dig it, man.